be the best I can be, it wasn't just my talent and hard work, and there were other aspects to it that I'd have to understand. The starting point is, at some point, you've got to commit.
Yeah.
You can't play half-hearted at this,
Agreed.
okay? Don't expect this to be easy. If you expect this to be easy, don't do it, because it's not supposed to be easy. Once you know you need success, it changes everything. Find the person who has tried to achieve what you want to achieve and they messed it up. And that's the person I found and was the missing piece that allowed me to be the best athlete I could be. My why was, if I'm going to go for something, I want to max out on it. I don't mind not winning. In my internal voice that I made it as likely as possible that I did all right. Get the basics right and then open your mind to look for those little changes, and then you can create a massive result. Success breeds success. So when you come into that environment, you're looking at people who are the best in the world. It's not about the coach. It's about the environment.
Welcome to Estate Agent Showdown. This is an unfiltered conversation with a very special guest. We have an Olympian here, a gold medal Olympian.
Well, a few gold medals, not at the Olympics. Silver at the Olympics, but I'll take it. The thing is, you know what? The older I become, the better I become. Yeah. You've made an assumption there. And the detail is, I actually won 2 silvers and a bronze at the Olympics.
Yeah. So the golds were in the...
I've won a gold medal. I'm a 2-time world champion
in
relay, and 5 gold medals in the European Championships, 2 in the Commonwealth. But actually, my greatest achievement was a silver medal at the Olympics in Atlanta in 400 meters. Because I came second to Michael Johnson, who was quite good. So it's an interesting discussion. So but thank you for calling me that.
Well,
I probably shouldn't have corrected you, but
correct it because someone will.
There is no doubt. Oh well, actually,
but I like the fact that
he didn't win an Olympic gold medal.
Mistakes,
You're not the first.
No,
and it's great.
But that's brilliant. Well, Roger, thank you, Roger Black, everyone. Thank you
That's a good way
for
to
joining
start,
me on the
isn't
show.
it?
Absolutely, we love that. We're here on a Friday morning, and honestly, thank you for coming along, because you've been around just on the periphery. We're just talking about this, the periphery of the estate agency
very much
industry
so.
for the last
3 years.
3 years now. And we kind of got to meet probably just over a year ago, maybe 18 months ago, when I was a guest on a podcast
with Adam McKay,
And it kind of came about, just a very quick summary of how an Olympian, should we call it, which you are, came into a estate agency. So take us to that place.
Very easy answer to that question. So I've made my living in retirement. You know, I retired. I was 32. I'm 60 in 2 weeks' time, so 3 weeks' time. So it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And you've done the thing you were born to do, and I did okay.
You did very well.
Thank
much
you.
more than okay. Yeah.
But like for any sports person, you have to be fully committed.
Yeah.
And then you retire and you stop in most sports. Certainly in my sport of athletics and running. So I'm 32 years old. What do you do for the rest of your life professionally, knowing you're never going to be as good ever again at the thing you've just done? But in the same breath, you're not greedy. You know that you've got opportunities that other people wouldn't have. So I immersed myself. I had a lot of opportunities in television, and you play around at a lot of things. But also, I was very high profile. 1996, 7, 8. I retired in 98. So I got asked to do speeches as a celebrity speaker on the corporate speaking circuit, which sort of existed in the sports world. I mean, my good friend Chris Akabusi had sort of opened up the door, and a few other people before him, but nothing, not properly as a proper business. And I fell into that, and I loved that. And I think the reason for that is that I had a passion for the psychology of performance, because my story is quite interesting. I'm not your normal story. I didn't start running until I was 18. I'd messed up my A-levels. I was going to be a doctor. So most people think you're a 10-year-old kid dreaming of the Olympics. I mean, Steve Backley, my business partner, who 7 years old, his dream, I want to go to the Olympics. Mine wasn't that it wasn't at all. But I had the talent. And I knew I was fast, but I never thought I wanted to be a doctor. So anyway, had messed up my A-levels, had a year off, found out how good I was by training with people like Chris Akabusi, and suddenly it was obvious that I had a high degree of talent to maybe one day be an Olympic athlete. And I realised that because you can measure yourself around the people I was running against then. And in some ways, the rest is history, and that's really when it all started. There's more to it than that. But what I learned throughout my career was a lot of injuries and setbacks. And I think during those very difficult times, and I was out for nearly 2 years for 1 year, I learned about the psychology of performance. I learned that to be the best I can be, it wasn't just my talent and hard work. And there were other aspects to it that I'd have to understand. So I took that in retirement by telling my story, but really talking to an audience who don't know much about running. I don't talk about running, but talking about if you've got a dream and you've got a goal, I'll share my story. And within that, there may be things that you can take from it, whether it's goal setting, teamwork, change, resilience, accountability, all the stuff that we'd cover.
You've lived through as well.
So how did I get involved in a estate agency? 3 years ago, I got approached by a speaking agency to do a series of gigs for a company called EXP. I'd never heard of them. It's just another gig. Could have been a solicitor's firm, could have been an accountancy firm, could have been a pharmaceutical company. I genuinely didn't know. Looked it up, sort of understood what it was, and met Adam Day, who was setting it up, and basically did some speeches to just, get people in the room, but engage people. And built a relationship with him, liked him. Then he invited me and Steve Backley to get involved and help agents when they were onboarding with the mindset. So obviously I'm not an estate agent, but mindset I kind of know something about. And as you know, in estate agency, having the right mindset, and especially the self-employed model.
We're definitely going to dig into that.
You got to make it happen. And so that's how I got involved in estate agency. So I spend a lot of my time now around estate agents. And
how's that been for you?
Actually, do you know, I honestly, you have the whole, I'm with a group of estate agents. Oh, great! No one likes an estate agent.
Someone's worst nightmare.
That's not my reference. That's not my experience. I've met some great people. Maybe because they're slightly different, because they're entrepreneurial. Yeah. So they're not your bog standard estate agent. Yeah. And I'm just help with entrepreneurial mindset, and loving it.
Well, because that entrepreneurial, that's it. It's the entrepreneurial mindset, absolutely. And one of the things about elite sports, especially the background that you've come from, and you've already touched on it. Is the kind of like your obsession in those areas, I would imagine, is the marginal gains. Yeah. It's that you're chasing the seconds, the improvements in seconds.
Well, not even seconds.
Not even seconds.
Tenths of seconds.
And I think in our industry, we tend to chase the big results.
Yeah.
The instructions, the fees, and so on and so forth. And that becomes the challenge. Because if you look at where you've come from and your background in managing the milliseconds, if you like, how do you see that kind of comparing to our industry about where we should be focusing?
I think there are a lot of similarities, and a few differences. Yeah. I think ultimately the biggest difference is that in our business of running, in the end, I sit here today pushing 60, and I reflect on my career. Yeah. And the thing that is my greatest achievement and the thing I'm most proud of is standing on the Olympic rostrum individually in Atlanta in 1996 for two reasons. One, because it's the Olympic Games, and everyone in our business knew that ultimately when all is said and done, that's the one that everyone wants to be ready for. And the second reason is, unfortunately, it's once every 4 years. In a state agency, it's every day. Every day is your Olympic final. There is no Olympic final. It is just a long, relentless process. You don't get that moment of, well, you can create it, but in our world, it was very clear. You stand on the Olympic rostrum with 80,000 people and the flag goes up and millions of people watching back home. They're celebrating you and they're celebrating your achievement. It's clear. It's not clear in a state agency because things move all the time. It's, you can get a great listing, brilliant, but then you lose the next one. Yeah. And so it's that roller coaster. So a state agency is definitely a roller coaster.
Has it opened your eyes?
It has. It hasn't. It hasn't. I still think it's.
Go on.
So I'm very close with guys like Adam Mackay and Jamie Fisher that you know, and meet a lot of people I really love being around, estate agents, and I'm still a bit of like, come on. I live in Guildford. Okay, you put a house on the market, it's going to sell at some point. Okay. And I've experienced it. I've moved a few times in the last few years. I didn't see a lot of skill. No, I didn't see a lot of. You almost think all of my friends go, I know I'm being an estate agent. Put it on Rightmove, it's going to sell. I think there's a degree of truth in that if you live in a certain area. Yeah. But I know now that it's a bit more than that, and there's a lot more behind the scenes. But I still think it's a really good business to be in because you're not creating the product. You're selling a product that's already there, and. So therefore, what makes a great estate agency isn't the product. It's about communication. Yeah. It's about clarity. It's about openness. It's about collaboration. It's about brand. It's about trust. And I think that parallels with high performance in sport, certainly team sports. And so, similarities and differences. But what I do like about estate agents, and I do like about them, is they are competitive.
They are.
And they are. And especially the self-employed ones. And the other thing, from the self-employed point of view, and I always say this when we're chatting to people who are thinking of, we've created this club of estate agents called the Real Agency Club with Adam Mackay and Jamie Fisher and me and Steve Backley. We've got this wonderful group of agents that's growing all the time, and everyone's contributing, and it's wonderful. But you have to, if you're part of that club, you have to have a certain mindset, and you want to collaborate, to help, but also you want to see each other thrive. And I think that's common in sport. But it's
on the
mindset
piece.
Yeah.
Roger, like when you say about that mindset, what does that actually look like? Because
I think it's different for different people.
Okay, go into that for me.
So I think the starting point of any performance journey, if you're going to really get serious, I'm not talking about, let's have a go. I'm talking about, so let's take the scenario in sport. You can use any athlete, but let's use me as an athlete, okay? Yeah. So my story is, up until the age of 18, I wanted to be a doctor. I went to a grammar school. I lived in an environment where the thought of being a professional sports person was not an option. Also, I was born with a heart condition. I was born with heart valve disease. I've subsequently had an operation for that. I had open heart surgery. Yeah, but I was 11. So when you're 11, you're told you've got heart disease. You're not thinking, but I still
want to
go to the Olympics.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it stopped me, but it was probably a factor. It's not the main factor. But then I found out I was pretty good because I had a year off to retake my A-levels. I started studying at university, and I was reading medicine at university. But my life had changed. This little flame had been lit inside of my stomach.
How was that?
Because I was winning races. Because I was European junior champion.
That competitive?
Because I was, it's not so much competitiveness. It's just, I knew what I was good at. Yeah. And athletics doesn't lie. If you cross the line first, you're the best. So suddenly I was in a place where I could go to the Olympics, but I'm studying medicine at university, and I'm finding this really hard. I'm not a natural academic, and I'm not and I'm surrounded by people who really want to be doctors.
Yeah.
And I'm getting up early, going down the gym, cutting up dead bodies, going back in the evening, running up some hills. I had no social life, and obviously I couldn't do both. So I had to make a decision. And I made that decision to leave university and commit completely to athletics, but I made it under one condition with my father, who was a doctor, which is that I commit. Yeah. And I did commit. And I think that's a parallel. I think
that sort of commitment conversation carry anything else? Was there this is what you're going to need to do?
No.
It was just that.
It was simply. That's a good question. You asked about the mindset. What is the mindset? And I'm saying the starting point is, at some point, you've got to commit.
Yeah.
You can't play half-hearted at this, okay? And a great example of that is my great friend Chris Akabusi, who was the number one 400-metre runner in the country when I came along.
Yes.
Realised he wasn't going to beat me or a guy called Derek Redmond. But he wanted to be an Olympic medalist. So he changed the vehicle. Yeah. And he became a hurdler. It took him 3 or 4 years to hurdle. Yeah. And he stood on the Olympic rostrum. I was a bronze medal in 1992. Yeah. But what he did was he changed his identity. Yeah. He said, I'm not a 400-metre runner. Yeah. I'm now a 400-metre hurdler. Yeah. So, and I can tell you that one decision is a fantastic mindset, because you don't play. Because most people, they try and change. It doesn't quite work and they go back.
Try.
And he committed, and he kept going, and he kept falling, and he got up. Yeah. And I committed. When I left university, many people said, are you crazy? You could be a doctor. Yeah. But I didn't want to be an if-only person. I wanted to just go for it. But going for it is one thing, but being fully committed is the important bit. And I love it when you see estate agents who decide to go all in on self-employment. Yeah. Let's say it's with EXP. There are other models, obviously, but it doesn't matter what the model is. The ones that are successful are the ones that go all in, and they recognise the one thing that I was told by one of the greatest athletes this country's ever had when I had a broken foot and I was struggling to come back from injury. And I'll never forget this. I know where I was. I was in a car with him. His name is Daley Thompson, who was a 2-time Olympic decathlon champion. Yeah. And my career was potentially over. And I remember saying to him, this isn't easy. I don't know. This is really not easy. I don't know. And he said to me, Rog, if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. Yeah, and I say this to anybody who's thinking about joining us and going self-employed, whether it's a team owner or an individual. Don't expect this to be easy, because if you expect this to be easy, don't do it, because it's not supposed to be easy.
Well, that's the danger of it.
That's the mindset.
It is.
That's it right there.
And that has to be the starting point, because when you see it broadcast on socials, I think it's such a dangerous place.
It's really dangerous.
Because it's the same, I suppose, in elite sports.
Everything
people see they
see the person who stands on the rostrum. They don't see the hard work.
Everything that goes on behind the scenes.
But Matt, the thing you said there, you said it's the starting point.
Yeah.
It is the starting point, but it's also on every point of the journey.
Yeah.
Because it's not just recognising it's not easy at the start. It's recognising in your biggest injury, when things aren't working in business or things aren't working athletically, is almost not to celebrate it. No. I know people say, celebrate the bad times, because of course, but at least acknowledge that it's this is how it is supposed to be.
Yeah.
And if I can just get through this, I'm going to come out stronger. And that's my career.
But you know what I find, like, any time when I was playing football, it's exactly the same mindset with regards to you're constantly up against challenges, performance, substitutions, injuries. All of the things that happen in those moments are teaching you something, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're teaching you something. And business is exactly the same.
It is, and more similar to football than athletics, because the thing which you're more qualified than I am to talk about it, because you played football to a high level, is that you're not in control of everything.
No.
I had a lot more control because no one was tackling me.
Yes.
Okay, and I didn't have a team.
Yes,
I didn't have a manager who, for whatever reason, thought they
didn't like it.
Yeah. Never had that.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
But I think that's where the self-employed thing does give. It's polarizing in that respect. If you go all in, you're fully committed, you're prepared to walk through. Here's the challenges that you're going to face in year 1, year 2, year 3. They are going to be constant and consistent.
Correct.
But if you're all in, and you're prepared for those challenges, and you understand they're part of your growth, this is going to be the best thing you can ever do. Because you're in control.
And be intelligent.
Be intelligent.
Because the
intelligence.
Because I think the intelligent high performer goes.
Is that emotional intelligence?
No, I think a bit of that.
Yeah.
But I also think be smart. Okay. Yeah. So people always say, if you want to achieve something in life, go and find the person who's achieved what you've done and find out how they did it. And they're right.
Yeah.
So you make the decision to join. I'm not here to sell EXP
no,
or whatever,
it's
but
worth
I'm going to say EXP.
Yeah.
So there are other models. And you join the Real Agency Club. You use the people in there.
Yeah.
Look around. We've got people who are from different backgrounds, they've come at it from different ways. But we get together once a week online. We have events. Just find someone and just ask them those questions. Find out. Success leaves clues. Don't just try and do it on your own.
Massively.
But you've got to be open to that, and you've got to be open to that. But there's a second bit. Sorry.
No,
I said
brilliant.
So
brilliant.
find that person, but there's someone else you want to find, and they're a lot harder to find.
Go on.
They're a lot harder to find because they're not shouting about it. Find the person who has tried to achieve what you want to achieve, and they messed it up.
Yeah.
And that's the person I found towards the end of my career, and that person was the missing piece that allowed me to be the best athlete I could be.
How did you find them?
Through Daley Thompson again. He was the last British athlete to run in the Olympic 400-metre final back in the 70s.
Yeah.
Okay. And he messed it up. And he made a lot of mistakes
on
and off the track.
So you could take that.
Oh, it's not that I could take it. It was his therapy to say, don't do what I did.
Yeah,
I overthought it. I overanalyzed it.
Yeah.
I was reactive. He said, don't do it. It's so obvious. But now here's the point. Other people would have been saying that to me.
Yeah.
It's not a genius. Like, it didn't say me something I didn't know. But I didn't listen to them. And why didn't I listen to them? Because who the hell are they? I'm the best athlete in the country. I'm I'm the best 400-metre runner the country's ever had. What do you know, coach? You're a coach. What do you know? And I wasn't like that, but I think a part of me was. But when someone sits across you at the table who has walked into that Olympic final,
they understand,
knows what it's like to go to that line in the Olympic final, and then the gun went and they messed it up. You're going to listen, and that's why I encourage all the people in the Real Agency Club to not just share their successes, because estate agents are really good about telling how good they are.
They are.
But come on, share with us your real mistakes, because because we want to learn from that.
Do you know, that's so refreshing? And the reason why I say it's refreshing is because, like I said, there's a lot of talk on socials. Most agents are on socials, either building their brand or working alongside their business's brand. And it can be very tempting to look around, compare yourself to others and think that shit, everybody else is having the time of their life. I'm going through some real difficulties, but actually those difficulties were experienced by the people that are having their time of their life. Now, I mentor agents. So part of the reason of mentoring is to actually prevent people from going down the wrong pathways and actually not giving them too much directness around the feedback, because there's always nuances around different journeys. But it's actually to spin round and actually go, well, look, this is what I did. This is where I went wrong. And if I had the choice again, I would look at this as well.
Yeah. But the key is, this is what you did.
Yes.
Okay. And they're not you.
No.
So they may not have done that.
No.
But it doesn't mean they can't listen to what you did. And I think you asked me, we were obviously going off, but
right.
The starting point is to be all in, but it's also to know why you're doing it. And we're all different. And, estate agents are different. What they have in common is they're estate agents. So, but what I learned in athletics was that, I trained with Chris Akabusi, Daley Thompson. I had guys you've not heard of, a training group. But let's say Chris Akabusi, because he was my main training partner and obviously a famous athlete. You could not have two more different people on the outside as me and Chris Akabusi. So I'm a white, middle-class, well-educated grammar school boy who went to university to read medicine. He will always say that the difference between me and Roger is Roger got 10 O-levels and I got 10 no-levels. Chris's parents at a young age sent him and his brother from Nigeria over to the UK. He lived in foster care in children's homes. Yeah. He didn't concentrate in school, but ended up joining the army. It changed his life.
How did it change his life?
Because he got discipline.
Yeah. All of a sudden, that's something he hadn't experienced.
Yeah, he got father figures in some ways, but also it changed his life because the guy who was running the army athletics club where he was saw he had some talent and gave him a pair of spikes. Didn't just see it; he gave him a pair of spikes. Corny phrase. The rest is history. So then, I'm an 18-year-old spotty teenager who's just messed up my A-levels, so I'm retaking to go to medicine. And geography brought us together. So he was training in Southampton with the group. I lived near Southampton, so I would go across there. And these two human beings collided who had one thing in common, which was a talent to run the 400 meters. But apart from that, it wasn't obvious what we had in common. But our relationship over the next 6-7 years, we became not identical, but we became incredibly similar where it mattered. When it mattered, not on the outside, but where it really mattered, the moments where high performance comes from. Okay. On the track, when you're doing a hard session and you're not going to cut corners, turning up to the track when maybe you didn't have to, but you do for each other, and just making decisions together that we wouldn't have made on our own. I won't go into details about that, but big decisions when other people were saying, oh, no, you don't want to be doing that. But what we realized was that our differences made us unique.
Yeah. It's almost like that combination.
But it was our similarities that made us champions. And so I think in business, let's say you've got a group of estate agents, recognize your differences. Yeah. And embrace your differences. Yeah. But really focus down on your similarities. Yeah. Those are the things that are going to those are the things that are going to pull you through. Yeah. Yes, be different. You have different ways of being and communicating and celebrate that. But be authentically yourself, but also recognize what are the things that make us world class. And fortunately, I was lucky enough to spend every day of my life with Chris Akabusi.
Well, I was going to say about
who was
that.
like that.
Yeah,
amazing.
Like in football, it was about the dressing room. Who did you sit next to?
Yeah.
And you'd have
great parallel.
You'd be in some dressing rooms and it was just like, we are together, we support each other, there's accountability in there. I think of Roy Keane immediately when I think of that. The standards are higher, doing the things you don't want to do, being uncomfortable, but you had shared principles, shared values, shared vision.
Shared goal,
Shared goals, And I think with the type of group it sounds like you're building, and I know that we are in our group, it has to be the case where you look around the dressing room, you look around the room that you're in, and you see similarities playing out.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a really good point. And one that if you're watching this, who do you surround yourself with? Who do you spend the most amount of time with? And are you sharing your similarities? I think that's a really great point, just to come back to that, because when you're in the right space with the right people and you're flowing in the right direction and you're able to be vulnerable and be honest, be transparent, and I think we've already touched on it, that there's more pain in success if you think about journeys. So when you were going through your steps towards the silver medal that we talked about earlier and the gold medals, outside of that, those days, those dark days when you didn't have to show up, having someone behind you must have been massively important, or that you could talk to.
100%. And I've always known that's probably why I didn't do athletics as a kid, because I saw it as an individual sport. I always loved being part of a team.
Yeah.
I've always been happier hiding behind people rather than being up front, which sounds strange because part of my job is to be up front. I can do it, and I'm very comfortable doing it now. Yeah. It's not my natural environment.
Yeah.
And Chris Akabusi was my comfort blanket for most of my career, and then he retired, so I had to kind of replace him, which was hard, but also sort of stand up on my own 2 feet. But in business, I've done exactly the same with Steve Backley, who you know, who's my business partner. So 18 years now in business.
You complement each other.
Yeah, totally. But it's really interesting because I phoned him he phoned me this morning. We speak most mornings, but he phoned me this morning, and to have somebody that you're on this journey with, someone who you can be honest with, someone who you can just is there.
Yeah.
But more importantly, on this journey with you.
Yes.
Allows you to. And also has a different skill set, which is very important.
Yeah, you were talking about detail earlier.
So you just, that's always been me.
Yeah.
And, I always say, we love a phrase, but I think one of the best phrases I like in sport is that no one stands on the Olympic rostrum alone. Nobody. I think it's the same in a state agency.
But I suppose as an observer of athletics, but certainly in that era when you were there, it was captivating because there was only a few channels on the TV.
Yeah, it was on all the time.
So it was on all the time.
We're so lucky.
You didn't have to have Sky or all of these different things. And I just remember like your era and the Yvette Cram era and those kind of eras. But you do think it's you get tricked, I think, into thinking it is just the individual.
It's not. And every one of those athletes you watch on telly has their own coach and will have a training group, whether it's large or small. Everyone nowadays, of course, will have biomechanical nutrition, all the sport we didn't have, but they'll have a team underneath them.
Yeah.
Everyone, family, friends, everyone supporting them to get them in, hopefully onto the rostrum. But that era that I was in, which they call the golden era, was started by Seb Coe and Steve Ovett.
Oh, incredible.
People old enough to remember, back in the late 70s, they were swapping world records.
And then Steve Cram.
And then Crammy came along.
Yeah.
But Daley Thompson at the same time.
Oh, my God.
And then you had Tessa Sanderson. Yeah. And so suddenly you've got, and as you say, it's on a lot, it's on telly a lot. And they really paved the way. And what happens is that success breeds success. So when you come into that environment, you're looking at people who are the best in the world. So if you're going to even be acknowledged, you've got to aspire to be the best in the world.
Yeah.
And then this period of 10 years came across where myself, Chris Akabusi, Sally Gunnell, I'm going to miss somebody out, Steve Backley, Jonathan Edwards, Colin Jackson, Sally Gunnell, Denise Lewis, and then that paved the way ultimately, of course, to Mo Farah and Jess Ennish, and off we go. And now we're sitting here today with one of the greatest British athletes the world has ever seen. May become the greatest of all time is Keely Hodgkinson, who's an incredible athlete.
Yeah.
But there isn't a long list now.
No, why is that?
Well, there are 2 reasons. One, there are out there, you just don't know about them because it's not on telly all the time. Okay, but also, it just isn't. We don't have great throwers, we don't have great jumpers, we've got good 400-meter runners, Matthew Hudson-Smith, people like that. But it's cyclical. But I realise now that I was part of a really special time in British athletics.
Yeah,
it was a very special time.
Yeah,
and in our own way, I think we all raised each other's game without knowing it.
I was going to cut. That's exactly where I was going to go. It's funny that we tuned into that because when people see the single person on the podium, and then they go out and they run and they do all of these different things, it's so important to have the right people around you.
100%.
And they're specialists, if you like.
100%.
And like you've just said about you and Steve, I'd imagine that your conversations with an agent are very different to Steve's.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So you're adding two completely different perspectives, but they're ultimately taking someone to the same outcome.
Yeah.
Right? Which is not necessarily winning a medal, but it's winning something, which is normally to do with, I would hope, their vision of their business or something along those lines.
Well, I'd say before that is their vision of their life.
Their why.
Because their why, in most people's cases, is many people's cases for moving from employment to self-employment is to take control of their time.
Yeah.
But and who wouldn't want that? The problem is that's a hard thing to have, because suddenly you haven't got to clock in at 9 till 5. You haven't got to do this viewing. Oh, look, we've got another viewing that's come in. You've got to go out and go out and get the listing. No one's giving it to you anymore. And also, wow, you've got to control your time. You've got to get really good at time control. The upside is you can do a lot more with your time because you can work. You're working for yourself, so it matters. Can be flexible. But the why is absolutely the most important thing, and it is different for everybody, and it should be. But invariably, it'll be getting a bit more control of their time. But also, and let's be honest about it, you have to choose the vehicle that you think is best suited for you to achieve your financial and personal goals. And it doesn't have to be the EXP vehicle. It doesn't have to be, some people stay in employment. That's the best vehicle for you.
That vehicle is, it's very true.
You just choose the right vehicle.
And the people that are going to be surrounding you.
Yes. Well, I would hope that's true, because that's what we're trying to do at Relationship Club.
Well, that's why I wanted to talk.
And it's not, it's not, for some people, there are other groups they could join because they're more suited to that, and that group will offer something different. We definitely go down the group collaboration. Obviously, by me and Steve being involved, the mindset piece is not the most important piece, but it's for people who kind of want that support, and we can support them in ways obviously that other people can't. But everyone has their thing, and you just got to find your group, really.
Do you dive into, like, when you get new agents looking to join? Do you talk about their why as the first point? Because yours was quite clear now. But the thing that lit your flame was obviously going from what you were doing in your kind of the doctor side of things, learning that, to then going, actually, I now want to be an Olympian. Medal winner or whatever. It
wasn't my why.
No, but that's what I'm saying.
It's my goal. It wasn't my why.
Right. But what I'm saying is, when you look at the difference between, I'll rephrase that. The goal was clear.
Yeah.
But what was your why?
It took me ages to work it out.
Okay, tell us about that, because I think that's the fuel that goes in.
I think this is singularly the most important discussion that anyone who wants to go for something, whatever it may be, whether it's
because it's all about goals in our
whatever
industry.
It doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
But you got to be. But it's easier for us to set clearer goals because it's clear. I want to stand on the Olympic roster. It's not clearer than what. How is it a monetary goal? Is it a status goal? Whatever. It's not. It's not as easy to define. But your why. So Chris I'm talking a lot about Chris Akabusi. Chris Akabusi will always say it was harder for me than it was for him to be successful in athletics. And you know why he says that? Because he said, Rog, I had a why from an early age that you will never understand and you will never feel. And and Daley Thompson had it. There's a theme here. Linford Christie had it.
Yeah.
I did not have that why.
Yeah.
Okay. That why is, I would say back in the 80s, they're black guys living in a racist society. And I'm not. I'm a privileged, middle-class white boy, got options, got education, all that sort of stuff. So athletics for them is, if I win an Olympic medal, you can't judge me. No. You can't. It doesn't matter what my background is. Now, I'm not using the black-white thing. You can also take it from, lots of ways, okay?
Of course you can.
But the reason Chris says it was harder for me, he said, Rog, you couldn't have had the drive I had internally. Your why can't have been as strong as mine because you've had options. I don't think I had options. Okay, so it took me a lot longer to know what my why was. If I'm really honest with you, I have more clarity of my why in business than I had in my why in athletics.
Yeah,
I kind of worked it out, but it was never as clear. It was never as clear.
That's fascinating. Did you feel at times, though, when you understood their why, did you not feel jealous, but did you feel like, fuck, not jealous?
Life was a lot harder.
What I mean by that is like that why, when you really do figure it out, is quite powerful, isn't it?
See, our game in the end was based around three things.
Go on.
How much talent you got.
One.
You're born with that.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not a given, but it gets you a hell of a long way.
Yeah. It's not enough, but it's not given. Yeah.
How hard are you prepared to work for it?
Yeah.
I would suggest everyone at the Olympics is working pretty hard.
Yeah.
And then why are you doing it?
Okay.
It took me a while to work out the why.
Would you mind us talking?
No, I'm happy. I mean, I'm not going to sit here saying that I found it because of anything. I came into sport, fell into the sport, and had success very quickly.
Yeah.
By the age of 20, I was Commonwealth European champion, British record holder, British Athlete of the Year.
Yeah.
And then I broke my foot. And then everything changed because suddenly this thing that I played at and did really well at had stopped. And it wasn't like I pulled a hamstring. I broke my foot. I was out of sport for a couple of years. And I managed to come back. Now, I wish I could say to you that's because I had such a compelling why that I came back. It wasn't. I applied my logic to it with going, I'm only 20.
Yeah.
The bone's going to heal. I've just got to be patient and I've got to work it out. And I did start to get into the mindset stuff and I did work it out. And I got back and it wasn't easy, but I got back. That wasn't enough to take me to the Olympic rostrum. I then had a very good year in 91. 92, I started to get injured again. Always had injuries, something, glandular fever, whatever. But stood on the Olympic rostrum in 96. And that's when it was only a few months leading up to that I think I really knew my why. And a lot of my why was quite practical, really. It really was a case of I knew how fortunate I was to have been given a degree of talent that meant I could do things other people couldn't. Not as much talent as, say, a Michael Johnson, but certainly compared to most people. And my why was, if I'm going to go for something, I want to max out on it. I don't mind not winning. I like to win, but I don't mind not being, I don't need to be it's not like I need to be millions of pounds. But if I feel in my internal voice that I made it as likely as possible that I did all right, I was successful. The pain of not having that was probably my why. The pain of going, you didn't go for it.
That's interesting.
So a mixture of it was pleasure, but a mixture of it was pain.
They talk about
I turned it around. The early days, there was a lot of fear of failure.
Yeah.
But the strange thing for me in 96 in Atlanta, I couldn't put a foot wrong. And I felt more peace in the Olympic Stadium in Atlanta in 96 than I'd ever felt in my career, which is weird because you shouldn't feel peaceful in the Olympics. I was nervous, but I felt prepared. And I think that was the missing piece. I felt that no matter what happened on this day, unless I ran really badly, which I didn't, obviously, I had done everything I could to get there.
Left everything on the table.
Everything on the table.
Okay.
And also, and here's the big one, I knew that it was never a given.
Yeah.
I could easily not have been there. And there was what we tend to do in life is we look at the people ahead of us and try and chase them, but sometimes you've got to stop and look behind you.
Yeah.
And I've always had a lot of gratitude for my talent.
Yeah.
And the people that I managed through geography, Chris Akabusi, Daley Thompson, to have come into my life.
Yeah.
And I don't take any of that for granted. And because of that, and I maxed out, I did max out, I was able to leave the sport content. That's
really amazing.
A lot of people don't.
Yeah.
And most people don't because they feel that they didn't achieve what they wanted to achieve, which is fine, but that's how it is. And also I had my greatest day towards the end of my career. So it wasn't a distant memory. I hadn't been chasing for something. I didn't get back to it. I chased for it. I got it, and then I left.
What was your age then?
I was 32 when I retired. I was 30 when I won my Olympic silver medal. So, my why wasn't as obvious. I can't be honest. I wish I could say to you, and I'd be lying. My why was when I was given a diagnosis of valve disease when I was 11. That drove me to prove everybody wrong. It didn't.
I think sometimes, I hope you don't mind me saying,
I wish it had to be a better story.
It's sometimes coming from such challenging circumstances. And for maybe like myself, I grew up in a loving family, support. We didn't have pots of cash. I loved my football, but I wouldn't say they ever felt like there was something missing. But I certainly wasn't sure of my why. And I probably wasn't up until I stepped into business, and more so my own business.
Absolutely. And sometimes we're even looking for it now. It changes, right?
I think it evolves.
changes.
I think it evolves. It's yours.
But the important thing
isn't.
And I don't use the analogy of me and Chris Akabusi to make it into a big, thing. I think I'm in a position where I can make that comment. Other people would make that comment and can't say that. Well, Chris will say, yes, you can.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Yes, you can. Absolutely. Okay.
100%.
And we can analyse it and discuss it. I'm not saying, but what I do think about the why thing is, it doesn't matter.
No.
It doesn't matter whether it comes to you slowly or it comes to you quickly. What matters is that when it comes, you recognise it, you act on it, and you celebrate it.
Yeah.
Because if you haven't got that, you're going to give up when things go bad. It's what you can't. Your why is actually, people think, get your why, then you can go forward. I would say get your why so that when things are really bad, you can go back to it. You can reconnect with it.
It's a fuel, isn't it?
That's the thing that's going to keep you going. And when that's gone, then you move on to something else.
How do you get to your why? Well, if you was to talk to to agents today and trying to explore that first
have
part
a conversation.
So
why are you doing it?
Right. And you dig deep.
See, I say agents, yes, have the same conversation with an agent than you would with an athlete. Okay, yeah. So I may mentor a few athletes, but let's just say this. So my conversation would be, what do you want to achieve? I want to win an Olympic medal. Yeah. Okay, why? I can't answer it. What do you mean why? Well, because I'm really good at it. Because I'm good at it. Look, I'm really good. Yeah, I know, but you've got to understand, everyone at the Olympics is really good.
Yeah.
So why? And then when you start the process of someone thinking, because everyone can find their why. It's not like a trick question.
No.
But the truth is, most of us don't think about it.
No.
We get busy.
Well, you want to build a business, or you want to do this.
Well,
why?
it's easy.
Why
do I want to be a better estate agent? Because I want to make more money.
Yeah.
I want to provide for my family if I've got one. I want to have control of myself. I want to have a holiday. I want to. Okay, great. Why? Well, because that's why. Okay, and then Then what they tend to say is, because I like helping people, which you all say. You do. You all say it. You all say it, and that's I believe it.
Yeah.
Okay. But then why are you an estate agent? If you want to help people, you don't have to be an estate agent to help people. Yeah. So let's go a little bit deeper. Yeah. And look, it doesn't have to be. It's not like you can't achieve if you haven't got an all compelling why. I'm just saying it's an interesting process to go through, and I had to revisit that a few times in my athletics career, and I do in business as well.
So coming into a new phase of kind of business growth outside of speaking, but in this industry, and you're helping people to uncover that. I genuinely think it is really important because I think that you can end up going down pathways and roadways and you're doing a load of stuff and it can feel a lot more like work rather than purpose. And I think the why gives you the fuel and the ammunition to go through what we said earlier in this conversation, which is there's guarantees about going into your own business. Yeah. It's going to be fucking hard, excuse my French. It's going to be hard. It's going to be relentless. Things are going to happen that you've never had to deal with or comprehend ever before. Yeah. But you just said, and I completely agree, it's like, when you went through those injuries and you came out the other side, it's so easy to quit if you don't know why you're doing this. Now, not to labour the point on why, but again, coming back to the guys watching this, ask yourself 4 or 5 whys. Yeah. Get deep into it, understand it, because there's going to be something that you haven't thought about for a long time going through that process. Funny enough, while who's off camera here, we was talking about, business and doing, starting a business. Why? Because you're conditioned, aren't you, around this world to go on these journeys. It may not be the journey.
And it doesn't have to be this glamorous answer.
It just has to be something you
connect with. Yeah. And actually, the only voice that matters, you don't even have to tell anybody, is the voice between your ears, that internal voice. Because because what happens if you do that? You just do things better because you're doing things so that you're congruent. Yeah. And so the whys are really important, but I think you've also got to create an environment of excellence, which is, I guess, what we do at the Relationship Club. Because logically, it's the same in sport. If you want to achieve something big, you're far more likely to do it with other people along the way. And be open-minded and just absorb you don't have to know everything.
Well, you just brought me to a
You
point.
don't have to know everything.
You don't have to know everything. Being around people, just to come back to the scenario of being, a lot of people in our industry aren't used to asking for help.
Really?
That's my experience.
Really?
It's only started to become more prevalent because I think people have understood that there's mentors, there's coaches, there's all of this stuff out there. But actually, in high-level performance, what I'm trying to get at here is asking for help.
It's not a weakness.
It's not right.
It's not a weakness.
Talk to me about that.
It's not a weakness. It's just like, because all you're doing, you started this conversation, I think you meant the marginal gains thing. We all can improve. But what most people think, it's got to be a big improvement. Okay. But if you're looking for tiny improvements,
exactly it.
And you acknowledge that you can't, no one's perfect. So you can always get something from somebody. And it's not like everybody, you can have 100 conversations and not learn anything. But when you have a conversation or you hear something that somebody says that you haven't heard before, and for whatever reason it resonates with you. Totally. And my life, I can give you a lot of examples of this. It can come from a film. It can come from watching TV. And it's not what they've said, it's the fact that it's where you are sitting right now at that moment in your life, hearing that had an impact on you. Yeah. That one thing can make the biggest difference. So I talked earlier about the person that came into my life who sort of mentored me, the last person to run the Olympic 400 meters. We just had one conversation when we got together. It was in America. We had dinner 8 months before the Olympics in '96. We sat across each other. I'd known him, but we never had the serious conversation. Can you help me? Can you help? He's not a coach, but I just want someone to talk to who's been there and done it. And we had a conversation, and he said something to me, and I talk about this in my stage presentations, that is so obvious. It was nothing new. It was completely obvious. But as I said to you earlier, I listened to him. I listened to him. And it was literally the concept of stop being reactive, be proactive. Don't worry about the things you can't control, which, of course, we all know that. But it was strange because I really listened, and it changed the way I thought and behaved from that point onwards. That wasn't this revolutionary thing. No. So it wasn't about him. It was about, I was sitting there 8 months to the Olympic Games thinking, I've got to get something, or I'm just going to carry on doing what I'm doing. Yeah. So it probably wasn't. It was the position I was in. I was receptive. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you're open.
And often what we do is we go to events and we go to things and we're not really open.
No, I'd agree with that.
And I think go to everything and be open. Be careful. You don't want to sort of go, one day you listen to this, one day you listen to this. At some point you've got to decide what you're, can't do everything, right? And I think that's really important. And I think if you can create an environment where people can hear and experience different opinions, which we do in the Real Agency Club, and then choose the ones that they want to do and get support with it, all good coaches do themselves out of a job. Yeah. Okay, so the whole point of it is to create an environment where people can actually then just go, because everyone who joins either EXP or the Real Agency Club, they're all good estate agents. Yeah. You're not teaching them how to be an estate agent. They know how to be an estate agent. What you're doing is you're just giving them a new environment where they feel they can do what they already know, but do it a different way, but more importantly, do it better.
Who was one of the best coaches for you?
Coaches? I never had. I came into the sport and I joined at Chris Akabusi's group, a great coach called Mike Smith, who was the best coach in the country. Mike he wasn't the best coach. He just created a fantastic environment for excellence. He put talented people together. So if you were healthy, you'd do all right. When I broke my foot, he said to me, I can't help you, because he wasn't skilled in helping someone working one-on-one to help you come back from injury. So I had to step away to save my career. And then I was coached by a guy called Mike Whittingham, who was a great friend and was a hurdles coach, but had been an athlete from the past whose career had ended sort of through injury. He wasn't, so he knew what it was like to come back from injury. And without Mike, I wouldn't have come back from a broken foot. And he was a pretty good coach, but he will admit he wasn't the world best 400 meter coach in the country, but he was coaching me and Chris Akabusi. And then towards the end of my career, I worked with a guy called Tony Lester with Mike, who was my sprint coach. And I had this other guy, David Jenkins, who was my sort of mindset. We did a few sessions that he suggested that, So I can't pinpoint the best coach I've ever been with. I've worked with lots of different people. But I think the people I worked with in the end recognise that in our business of running, certainly if you're walking into the Olympic Stadium, is you have to empower the athlete. You can't, it's very hard to have high performance if you're not empowered. So the best coaches have to support, but in the end they have to empower the athlete to take responsibility.
When creating that environment that he talks about, where you're almost coaching one another.
Yeah.
Because your standards, your examples, you know, that's a really interesting place.
It is interesting, but I just realised, I know you asked me a question, who's the best coach you've ever had?
Go on.
I can't answer that because I had lots of different ones. And one of the reasons I can't answer that was my coach wasn't the most important part of my thing. I think the most important people who contribute to my success were my training partners. Yeah. And I do believe that the single greatest asset that we all have at our disposal, the people we work with, the people we live with every day, it's Steve Backley, it's Adam Mackay, it's Jamie Fisher, it's all the people in the group. If you create an environment, it's not about the coach, it's about the environment. And I feel that quite strongly because you can be the best coach in the world, but if you haven't created an environment where people can thrive without you, and work off each other, then
that's a business.
Yeah,
right?
I think so.
A high performance business.
Yeah,
it's funny when you're sort of talking about that. One of the groups that I mentor, you know, we've done a 6-week program 2.5 years ago, and it's like I said, 2.5 years later, we've met every month.
Yeah,
there's only 5. Their results have gone through the roof.
Yeah.
I actually watched them, Roger, coaching each other.
Yeah,
and it's one of the best things. It's not me trying to take the credit here. This is actually one of the reasons why I do what I do. But I watch and I listen and I observe and I laugh, and you just think, this is absolute gold. And I'd imagine that guy
100%
was thinking exactly the same.
And all my coaches,
maybe like Man United when Fergie was there. I mean, he was a manager, but they self-managed.
Yes, and that's what the great coaches do. They create an environment where the performers take accountability and support and each other.
They're almost in the background, aren't they?
Yeah, but are there? But yes, but also they know what's going on. Yeah, they'll be the person you go to when the shit hits the fan. You know, so it's an interesting one. But I think so. All Steve and I have done in retirement is just have these conversations and bring our experiences from sport. Never pretend that we've worked in the corporate business space. You know, because in the end, you've got to do the stuff. Yeah. I mean, I remember when I first met Adam Day at EXP, and I was fascinated because I got to understand what was going on and meet these people who were about to make this decision, this life-changing decision, and not everyone makes a success of it. No. Okay, and there's no guarantee. And I remember saying to him, well, I can see it now. We were having a drink, and I said, so what is it that makes? What's the difference between somebody who joins all pumped up, and then 8 months later, or whatever it is, it just doesn't work and it's not right for them, and people that join and they go on to transform their lives, and there are a list of those. Okay. And he thought about it. He didn't come straight in with the answer, and he thought about it. He said, in the end, I think there are 2 things you have to have. You have to follow the process. You have to do the stuff of being an estate agent. You have to do that stuff and celebrate that stuff. And that's a Michael Jordan thing, you know, if you know about him, you know, or the Johnny Wilkinson or the David Beck, you know, they practice the basics, you know, and celebrate the basics. I've got to go and do a viewing, or I've got to do that. It's not, I've got to do it. Yeah, they've got to do the stuff.
I get to do it.
Write the letters, knock on the doors, wherever that is, and embrace that. Do the training, do the set. Don't just do that. So that, you know. But he said the other thing is they've got to have the right mindset, because if you haven't got the right mindset, and that's what we're talking about, and I think that's the same in sport. I think it's the same in any business.
Do you think sort of because what's before the right mindset? Because I think mindset,
desire, and why.
So the whys that we've talked about, the desire. Yeah. Just touch on that.
And the process. Well, desire. It's not hard to. I mean, desire.
But there has to be a desire, isn't there?
Yeah, but and that can be anything. It's similar to why. It's different. It's different. It's different. It's words, but you got to.
There's a lot about health and nutrition these days as well. Just to flick away from desire, but you know, energy is important. Would you agree? Like your energy.
I think recognizing all the things that
contribute,
and certainly as an athlete, you know that. So recovery was very important. You know, learning to recover properly, not just chilling out. You know, active
rest. What was it
rest.
like back then, like in that golden era?
You just
compared to maybe
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what they do now. I don't,
Because I look at football and I think,
oh, that's completely changed.
it's gone nuts.
Yeah.
The analysis and everything else. I also think there's a little bit of a personality missing in
100%
in sport.
Yeah.
I don't mean that against everybody.
No.
And I think it's the same. Maybe.
I think what you're saying is that you can have all the technology, you can have all the data, you can have all of that logically says to you, if you do this, you will score that many goals, you will do that many passes, or you will stand on the Olympic rostrum. And it doesn't go like that.
I agree.
Because what actually matters is that whatever, all the stuff we're talking about. And that is something that, it's in your sport, football, it's the Roy Keanes of this world. It's the impact an Alex Ferguson can have. What is that? Is that a data thing? No. What is it? It's the impact you have on other people, the way you raise people. And, I come back to me. I will always say I was so fortunate that I happened to live half an hour from Chris Akabusi, that I happened to be invited by Daley Thompson with Chris to go and live with him in California and train. These people come into your life and they change the direction of your life.
Would you say
and I think recognizing those people is important. And
I think it is. Were their values fairly aligned with you?
Yes.
So if you look at core values.
Totally. I was never as competitive as Daley. No one has ever been as competitive as Daley. The most competitive human being I've ever met, and it was what made him the greatest athlete he is. And it's also made him quite difficult at times.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't have that. Okay. Chris had it, but even Chris didn't quite have that. Seb Coe has it. There are levels, in our world, but we're all different. And yeah, it was thinking. But I think the one thing we all did have in common, and maybe this is relevant to people listening, is something I battled with. And it's similar to the why. It's in the similar space, but it's different language. But I think this is one that really landed with me. The difference between wanting to be successful and needing to be successful. Because I wanted to be the best athlete I could be when I started out. I wanted to win an Olympic medal. Who wouldn't? If you ask anybody, do you want to win an Olympic medal? No one's going to say no. But if you then say, do you need to? It's a much harder question to answer. And if you can answer that question, I need to, for whatever, and this is the why,
it's revealing.
For whatever it may be, you don't even have to tell anyone, but if you know that it's more than a want. Do I want to be a really successful estate agent? Of course you do. Who wouldn't? But you need it bad enough to go through what you're going to have to go through to achieve it. And if the answer is probably one of three things. No, so then don't do it. Yes, great, let's go for it. Or I think I do, but I'm open to discovering if I do or not. And once you know you need success, it changes everything.
Because when you need something, like the shoulds turn into musts.
Musts,
so
absolutely. And they're non-negotiables.
At 5 a.m, you go and do the...
You don't... Do you know the most asked question I've had? One of the most asked questions I've had in my life. How many hours did you train a day?
Oh.
How much training do you do? Okay. Oh, well, actually, often the question is, what training do you do now? And let's look at this the same way, right?
Yeah.
So the answer to the first one is, how many hours did I do? How many days? I trained for 6 days a week. Always had a day off. 6 days a week. Physically training, probably 3 hours a day. Really? If I said I train 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, whew, that's impressive. I didn't, because it would have broken me, okay? And then you get the question, but, how did you get up when it was raining and it was windy and blah, blah, blah. And I just say, it never crossed my mind.
No. You knew it.
I knew why I was doing it. I knew what I was doing, and I knew what I had to do to get what I wanted to achieve. I genuinely never went. I'm not saying you wake up every day pumped and wanting to do it, but I never once considered not doing it.
This is it.
Because it was who I was.
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying. Like, this is what people need to understand, and I know it's not always easy, but honestly, it is about understanding yourself. Yeah. And your motives and the things that matter to you, your values, your why.
All of it.
It's so important, because the journey ahead without it is 10 times more difficult.
It's much, because if you know why you're doing something, then when things go wrong, you've still got that. You just find another way. you just, whereas if you go, if you don't know why, if you're just doing it because you're good at it, or you want to make a bit of money, then you just choose another vehicle. You don't stick it because it's, and then you flip flop and you don't do it. So it's I mean, it's easy to sit here years later, talk about it and like this. At the time, I'm just doing it, but I learned so much from my time in athletics. I learned so much about myself. I learned so much about mindset and commitment, all those sort of things. And we can analyze it, but in the end, I'm just grateful that I had a degree of talent. But more importantly, I'm just grateful for the people that came into my life.
Yeah, I love that.
Because without them, I wouldn't have achieved it.
Do you know, it's funny, really. I lost my brother when he was 21. I told you this.
Yeah.
And it's funny enough, I then fell into this industry, and estate agency as a vehicle was a great way of getting a career into something that I enjoy doing for various reasons. But I would say in the last 5 years, the people that I've got to know in the industry and the connections, it's so different now compared to how it used to be. Yeah. There's more collaboration. There's more shared learnings. That we're doing things like
it's
today.
Brilliant.
It's such a healthier place to be than where it was 10, 15, 20
And estate
years
agencies
ago.
had a really bad rap over the
really
years.
has.
Okay, and I believe, look, I'm going to say this. I feel very fortunate that the timing was right. That Adam Day decided to pick me because he happened to be a fan when he was a kid growing up, to come along and
He's
do.
a bit of an athlete.
Adam, but Adam will admit it. He doesn't know. He didn't know what he was doing. He said, let's get someone along to talk. So he picked me, and subsequently he's then had Kevin Keegan and Victoria Pendleton and Chris Hoy, and it's amazing, right?
Yes,
but there's a theme.
There is a theme.
There's a theme, and that's Adam. Okay, so but I didn't know then that I was moving into a world. If you said you're working with estate agents, I probably would have gone, oh yeah, great, estate agents, okay? But my goodness me, I to be part of this industry at this moment in time, I do feel that I'm in a time in history where your industry is changing, and it's changing very quickly.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's great to be involved in it and to be part of it. And I absolutely love it. And we'll be doing this for a long time.
Well, we're going to be sharing
the
stage on the same time.
Well, that's a great example. Isn't that a great example? So we're speaking at Regina Mangan's first ever conference in Ireland.
A very different conference
so that's
as well,
for Irish estate agents, that's really an Irish thing. They've never had it before. And myself and Chris are going to go. I've done it again. Myself and Steve.
We'll get Chris over.
It's quite expensive. But myself and Steve are going. You're speaking. Richard Rawlins is speaking.
Tom
Panos is coming over.
Kirsty Franks.
But the interesting thing about that is, we've all got different reasons for doing it. We're doing it because we know the industry's changing. Yeah. But we're also doing it for Regina.
Yeah, massively.
And
what a superstar she is.
Yeah.
Quick shout out to you, Regina.
Yeah.
I think she won another award last night.
Oh, did she?
Yeah, it's doing very well. Well, look, you've made the effort to come into London today to spend an hour or so, whatever it's been.
It's always a pleasure.
No, it's been brilliant. And do you know what? I turned my phone off about about 10 minutes in, because I had a load of questions, but I think that conversation flowed really nicely.
Yeah, I mean, look, I can talk on this subject forever, as you know, and probably I talk too much and too quickly. When you get to do this with Steve, it'll be much more, he's amazing. Steve's amazing, but it'll be much more methodical, much more clear, whatever. But I'm a great believer in all of us sharing our stories. Yeah. And I don't ever... Whatever I do, I never teach anyone anything. I never go to say I'm going to teach somebody something. Yeah. I will just share with my open, honest experience. And if anyone's listening to this, and some people listen to it and say, I'm not really interested. Some people listen to it and go, yeah, that's a nice story. But someone might listen to it and there's something you said or I said that makes them stop and go and acknowledge it. You've got to acknowledge it or it's just go in and out. And go, okay, that's interesting. Because all you're doing is applying it to your life. Yeah. Okay? That's how I have got the best. I've learned the most of my life by listening to other people's stories. Yeah. And also I like listening to people from a different experience that I've had. Yeah. Okay? And then I'll take it, ponder on it, and do something about it. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be a big one. it could be the smallest thing. So I hope we've chucked a few things out there.
I think we have. I mean, Ollie's nodding his head over there, but I think make a mental note, a written note. So if you're listening to this, voice note into your notes section of your phone. I do that very often, just to remind me of something that I've heard, because I think that one or two things from episodes like this can just maybe light a little fire, a little spark somewhere.
And the thing is that in sport, when you get to a certain level, and I think anyone listening to this will be at a good level of estate agency, or they wouldn't be listening to it, I think. Yeah. Okay. You don't have to... people often look for the big change.
Yeah.
Okay. But from my experience in sport, once the foundations are laid, if you're open to a very small change, you can create a massive result. Yeah. And the best example of that in my sport, in my life, was in 1991. I was part of a relay team that became world champions. Yeah. And we became world champions because we changed the running order.
Yes, I remember you telling me about this.
And the interesting thing about this, everyone goes, oh yeah, it changed the running order. What a massive change. Come on. It was a tiny change. I just swapped over with, I went first instead of last, and that was it. Yeah. Okay. The key to it was we made a very small change around a solid foundation, because we had 4 world-class athletes, myself, Derek Redmond, John Regis and Chris Akabusi, who at that moment in time at a major championship were healthy. We'd never had 4. Yeah. We had 3, they've had 4. So we'd done the work, the foundation was laid. And that's as important as the change we made. Yeah. So get the basics right, and then open your mind to look for those little changes, and then you can create a massive result. Yeah.
Love that. What a great way to end.
Yeah.
Roger, thank you so much. And if you wish to follow Roger, is the best place for you on Instagram?
Yeah,
LinkedIn?
I mean, I'm not very... Real Agency Club is on Instagram. Me and Steve Backley on Instagram. Adam Mackay's on Instagram.
We'll tag you guys in when we release this episode. Many thanks.
Cheers.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for watching, guys.
Thank you.
Keep watching. Looking forward to seeing you on the next one. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, and I'll see you very soon.